All right. I would like to go ahead and get our workshop started officially. Um, my name is Jason Goldfield, and I'd like to welcome you to our monthly Florida Outreach Center for the Blind workshop. I am the assistive technology instructor here at the Florida Outreach Center located in Palm Springs, Florida. If you're not familiar with Palm Springs, Florida, we are here in just outside of the city of West Palm Beach, Florida. So today we are honored to have a wonderful, wonderful presenter today, Mr. Brian Hargen, the owner of Hargen Consultancy. And he is here today to talk about a wide range of products and services that his company offers, including his very famous Lisi program, as well as other Zoom scripts and tutorials. And as you all know, today is Global Awareness or Global Accessibility Awareness Day. And I thought how appropriate we would have Mr. Hargen come and speak to us regarding the accessibility of his JAWS scripts and the programs that he has built around those scripts as well. So without further ado, I am going to turn the floor over to Brian and let him present his presentation. So Brian, welcome.
Well, thank you very much, and hello to everybody. I hope that you can all hear me clearly, and thank you very much for that warm welcome. As Jason said, I'm Brian from Hargen Consultancy, and what a day to be delivering this presentation. And it's my absolute pleasure to be with you and being part of this group. What I'd like to do today is to start by giving some very brief information about our company. Then I will go on to talk at length about one of our products, which is actually called Lisi. I'm going to tell you about that. It has become one of our flagship products. I will explain what it is, and I'll also demonstrate quite a number of the features which are included within it. I think after all of that, it would be sensible to break and take some questions if there are any, and then I will go on to talk briefly about some of the other offerings that we have, if you would like to listen to that. So I hope that you're going to find it an entertaining and an informative presentation. We are a small company based in South Wales in the United Kingdom. My wife and I own the company, Hargen Consultancy, and we've been in existence now for close to 7 years. Now, don't worry if you cannot spell the word Hargen. If you're Googling us at all, I will give you full contact details a little bit later on. Now, put simply, we develop computer software products and also services to support the JAWS for Windows screen reader or Zoom Text Fusion screen reader magnifier. Let me make that clear right from the very start. We do not support any other screen reading or magnification package at all. Another product, however, as a side note that we do work with a lot is with the L Braille, because that has JAWS already on board. It is effectively built into the device. Now, while we are a small company, we're very glad to say that we have thousands of people using our products and services, and that number is growing every week, I'm very glad to say. So we develop and sell, as I say, a range of software products. We provide training in the use of JAWS, working alongside different applications. And I will talk perhaps later about some of that work. And we also carry out JAWS scripting or programming for people usually in employment situations, so as to ensure that JAWS is compatible with the different applications that blind people need to work with. I'm totally blind. I've been a JAWS user now for a very long time. I do create script files, which are part of the JAWS product by default. So when you buy JAWS, you are going to get some of my work at the very least. And I am a JAWS beta tester as well. And I have been for a very long time. And that is a privilege that I am part of. I was invited here especially to talk about one of our best-selling products, as I say, and that is Leasey, and that is spelled Leasey. I do know that we have at least one or two Leasey users already in the audience today. So what is it? Well, as I say, it works alongside JAWS and it serves two primary purposes. It is ideal for the computer beginner, someone who is just getting started with Windows, but it's also perfect for the intermediate or advanced JAWS user as well, as it contains lots of tools, utilities, and services to make not only life easier, but also to improve your productivity as a computer user. And I'm going to demonstrate quite a number of these features today. Now, I've often heard the comment, well, I'm a very advanced JAWS user. I don't need Leasey. Well, if that's you, or even if it's not, I think you would get a lot out of the product. I'm briefly going to introduce you to Leasey Basic. That's for complete computer beginners. I'm going to do that first. Then I'm going to describe some of the features that Leasey Advanced offers. And I will also, during this presentation, point you to places where you can find out more if you would like to follow anything up. So there are two components of Leasey, Leasey Basic and Leasey Advanced. Our website fully describes what Leasey Basic is, and there are audio demonstrations of it as well. But the concept is a very simple one. It is for the person who is just getting started with a computer. Do you remember when you got your first computer, when you got started with Windows? Perhaps some of you even don't have a Windows computer right now, and there are still plenty of those people, let me tell you. Well, Leasey Basic does a number of things to ease you into the world of computing, because for some people, it can be a very scary place. So Leasey Basic shields people from Windows at the initial stages so that when your computer is switched on, it presents you not with the Windows desktop, but with a menu of items containing things which people would typically wish to do with a computer. Write a document, listen to the radio, work with email, surf the internet, and a number of other tools as well. And when you enter one of these categories, the user is likely presented with subcategories of activities based upon what it is that they have selected. So it is very, very menu driven. So let me give you a flavor of that first of all, and then we'll proceed on. So I'm going to start off the Leasey Basic interface.
Leasey is active. Hi, I'm Leasey. What would you like to do? Write a document or letter?
So I'm just going to press the down arrow key. We can assume that our computer has just started, and that is the prompt that you will be listening to. I'm going to down arrow.
Check your email. Surf the internet. Scan printed material.
Now it's very, very responsive. You can't hear this, but as soon as I'm pressing the down arrow key, then Leasey is right with me and she is talking to me and she is telling me the menu item that I'm on at the moment. Now, as one becomes more proficient, you can use first letter navigation as well in these menus. So if there's something specifically that you're looking for, then you can certainly find it by tapping the initial letter. Now let's just up arrow again, and we'll go into one of these options.
So check your email, write a document or letter.
So there's write a document or letter, and I'm going to press the enter key on that.
What would you like to do? Create a document.
So now that I've selected that, we are obviously going into various options relating to writing a document or letter.
Store your home address. Create a letter from your home address.
Okay, so there is a little bit of setup that you can do in order to ensure that Lisa gets the right information for some of these items. But if I press the escape key,
what would you like to do? Write a document or letter.
You'll hear that we've gone right back to the main menu again. So it's a very, very simple interface at this stage. And as you heard, Lisi also contains her own voice. It's human narrated speech rather than it being synthetic. But we all know that eventually we are going to have to get used to synthetic speech. There is no getting away from this because there is text that needs to be read out from the screen. So there are times when JAWS will use its own synthesizer. And we found that this approach gently introduces people to the concept of using synthetic speech in a very structured way. And in order to demonstrate this, I am going to go to the radio category. So I'm in the main menu at the moment, and I'm going to press the letter L rather than arrowing down.
Launch Lisi Audio. Listen to the radio.
And here's listen to the radio. So I'm going to press enter on this.
What would you like to do? Play the most recent station you were hearing.
Okay, so I've got various categories here. And if I arrow down, you can hear what some of those are.
BBC and public radio, classical, country, dance and electronic, oldies.
Okay, so it's a very understandable voice. You can easily hear what is being communicated. And you can choose any radio station from any one of these categories. We have chosen some very popular ones to suit all categories, but if you're not satisfied with any of these, there is an option relating to what we call the Shoutcast directory. Now, Shoutcast is very popular. It's a popular radio station hosting platform, and you can browse through the categories of thousands of radio stations that they offer, or indeed you can search for what you want that way. So I'm going to press the letter V for variety.
Variety.
Okay, so we get back to the point I was trying to demonstrate, and I'm going to press enter on this.
List of radio stations in variety dialog. List 1, list view, 195 the globe, 1 of 48.
Okay, so now you will have noticed that JAWS is speaking using its conventional voice. I've tried to choose a good synthesizer that should suit our American listening audience here, and hopefully that is satisfactory. And because this is text that is read from the screen, we need to get JAWS to read that. So Lisi can't do that. So it's announcing the various radio stations. Now I'm going to choose one of these. I'm just going to arrow down a little.
Now, ACB Radio Live Events, ACB Radio Mainstream, ACB Radio Special Events, ACB Radio Treasure Trove.
Now, I think that one should be working. I tested it earlier on, and that should be working fine. So if I press enter on this.
Edit. Connecting to ACB Radio Treasure Trove.
12.5 grains of real USP pure M. You flash that at Swine and he'll know you're safe.
Okay, so we're listening to that. I'm just going to stop that from playing there. But you can hear how easy it might be for somebody who was a complete beginner to be able to navigate this kind of environment. So there are lots of other options on the menu, for example, to be able to get some help. And indeed, Lisi has its own context-sensitive help that you can press at any time, and she will give you a description as to what to do in the situation in which the new user finds him or herself. And there are various options to shut down the computer, restart it, those sorts of things. Our Daisy book, which you get with Lisi Basic for complete computer beginners, we hope is also a very good way for people to get started, because what I do is walk through the things that I've just been talking about that a new user would typically want to do. And while the human voice factor in Lisi Basic is fairly unique, I think, the concept of presenting applications in this very structured menu-driven way is not. There are other products that do things that are very similar. But what similar products of this nature do at that point is stop there. They limit the user. They present only the applications which have been specially crafted in this way, using this very structured menu approach. So if a person wants to do something those specially designed applications cannot do, he or she is well and truly stuck. And this does happen a lot. Technology is changing fast. I think we'd all agree with that. And while that idea may have been okay once, it probably isn't now for a good number of people. There usually comes a time when a person wants to do more than those other products offer. So what Lisi does is presents people with this very structured interface to get them used to what a computer can potentially do. And then when they're ready, they can let go of that. And they do that by pressing an easy to locate key on the keyboard. They can go back to that menu system at any time if they want to, but once that menu system has gone, JAWS will do everything that you would expect it to do under normal circumstances, but with a lot of extra functionality built in, and I do mean a lot. This is where Lisi Advanced comes into play. When we started producing this product back in 2014, people saw some of the things that Lisi could do, and they wanted the functionality for themselves. So Lisi Advanced has 3 objectives. It makes you more productive. It improves accessibility to existing applications that you might want to use, and it contains a whole raft of tools, utilities, and services that you can tap into. With the new version of Lisi, we've substantially increased the range of tools available as well, and I'm going to show you some of those. So let me run through very, very quickly just a few of the things that Lisi Advanced could do for you, and then we'll get into some demos. So how does Lisi make you more productive? We have easy ways, for example, to select text in documents, also PDF files, email messages, and web page. You mark the start of the point that you wish to select, you move the cursor to the end point, and you mark that, and the text between the 2 marked points is selected. So what's so wonderful about that? JAWS has that anyway, doesn't it? Well, yes, it does, but there are some particular advantages if you use what we call Lisi Select. It does have some real advantages over the JAWS default functionality. You do not need, for example, to save a document prior to using this feature. But more importantly, it works in email messages and other places where you are composing text, whereas the standard JAWS feature does not. We have a feature called Lisi Clips, which I'm going to talk extensively about, allowing you to copy multiple blocks of text so that you can paste them in any order that you like. It's a bit like a multi-clipboard, if you will. Have you ever seen tweets or Facebook posts containing emoji, special characters denoting an image such as ice cream or a slice of pizza? Well, Lisi has a very useful list of these that you can select from. You just select that you want the one that you want, and it's inserted into your text edit area. You can bookmark passages of text in Word documents or web pages to come back to later. Again, JAWS has something similar built in, but our feature takes it to the next level. And again, I plan to demonstrate that. On one of our most popular features, which is perhaps a surprise to me, and that is called Leasy Cuts. And it allows you to create a shortcut to any web page, file, or folder on your PC. You can then bring all of those into a convenient list, and you can select the one that you want. Why is it surprising? Well, after all, you can create Windows shortcuts to do exactly the same thing. Well, it's quite simple, really, is because it's easy to do. That's why. Yes, Lisi wants you to be very productive, but she also wants to make it easy for you to set up the items in the first place. So I've picked out 5 very quick things there, which Lisi allows you to do. There are well over 50 or 60 features, and I'd invite you to go to our website, which I'll give details of later on. Have a listen to our Lisi Bites. These are very short audio tutorials which teach you about a specific Lisi feature. Maybe you don't like audio tutorials. Well, that's not a problem. You can read the full documentation of Lisi on our website, which is extremely extensive. And there are text transcripts of most of the Lisi Byte audio tutorials there as well. I always enjoy doing presentations about like this one, because sometimes I do forget perhaps some of the Lisi features that we do have. I'm very proud of the fact, and I don't mind admitting it, that I am proud that Lisi has so much that she can do. And I go through all of the features, picking out, and it really is cherry picking as to what I'm going to demonstrate. And I think, oh, yes, that would be a good one, wouldn't it? I could spend about 10 to 15 minutes demonstrating each feature that Lisi has. But what I'm going to do, or what I've chosen to do, is choose a few of these at random that I think that you might be interested in, so you can get a good perception of just some of the things that she is capable of. And these range from basic tasks to the more complex, you might say. So let's begin with something which ought really to be an elementary task or skill for everyone. And this is spell checking. Now, I say it ought to be because the spell checker, in my view, in Microsoft Word and Microsoft Outlook, has taken a serious nosedive over recent years, to the point that for many people, it is far more difficult to use than it used to be. It certainly isn't as intuitive as it once was, that's for sure. Well, Lisi tries to make this easier in the following way. Okay, so I've produced a series of documents and other files that I'm going to use in these demonstrations. Okay, and I am going to bring up one of these now.
Spelling.docs.
Okay, this is a Microsoft Word document, and appropriately enough, it's called Spelling. Okay, and I'm going to press enter on this to open it up.
Opening Word. Spelling.docs Word.
Okay, and here we are in the document, and I'm going to let you hear this document. It only contains 1 or 2 sentences.
Today is Thursday. This morning, I went for a walk in the park. The sun was shining, the birds were singing, and I had a spring in my step.
Now, it might not be obvious to you because of the synthesizer that I'm using at the moment, that there are at least 2 spelling mistakes in there. One is on the word walk and one is on the word sun. Okay, so we're going to use a different method of spell checking than perhaps you might be used to, but it certainly does work. Remember, the idea behind a lot of the Lisi concepts is to keep it very simple, and also to make sure that you can do it quickly and productively. So I'm going to go back to the top.
Top of file. Today is Thursday.
Okay, and here I am at the top. Now I want to know what spelling errors are here. So I'm going to press the keystroke Alt with semicolon.
Walk. W-A-L-L-K. This morning, I went for a walk in the park.
Perfect. So what it did is it flagged the error there. It spelled it out to us, and then it read the sentence in context. So we know exactly what it is that we're meant to be correcting. And that's what you used to be able to do. You used to be able to press F7 in the spell checker, and there was a keystroke that you could read the word in context. Well, that's all gone. Those good old days are gone. Okay, so what can we do with this? Well, we can press a key on the keyboard.
Menu. Leaving menus. Wall, similar to partition, barricade, mountain split button.
Okay, so what it's doing now is
Walk, similar to gate, stroll, saunter split button.
what it says here is walk, similar to a gate, stroll, saunter. And if I look at the next suggestion,
Wall, similar to partition, barricade, mountain split button.
it says wall similar to partition, barricade, etc. Okay, well, clearly it's the first one I want. So I'm going to up arrow and press enter on this.
Walk, similar to gate, stroll, saunter split button.
Press enter.
Spelling.docs Word. Spelling.docs.
Now we're back in the Word document again. We're exactly where the cursor should be. So if I just arrow left and right a little bit here.
Space I. Space walk. A-L-K space.
Yes, it's correct. It's corrected it. So do we have any more errors? I'm going to press Alt semicolon again.
Sun. S-U-N-N. The sun was shining, the birds were singing, and I had a spring in my step.
And we would just go on and repeat the process. I won't demonstrate it to you again, but I think you've got the idea probably by now. But you can see how easy it is just to quickly flick through your document, correcting the spelling errors just by introducing that concept of the Alt semicolon keystroke. Now, while we're in Word, I will demonstrate some other features because Word is one of the places where there are many, many features. You may be aware that in JAWS, you can set up a place marker in a Word document, as I alluded to earlier. And this allows you to move back to a known point in a document if you wish to refer back to it later, or you can insert text, for example. The problem with that feature, the JAWS place marker, is that it records the character and the line number of the cursor when you set the place marker. So if you add text to that document, perhaps some text particularly before where you'd set the place marker, it wouldn't take you back to exactly where you want to be. You see, by definition, if you're doing word processing, that text is on the move, isn't it? That's the whole point of word processing. So Lisi not only does a good job of allowing you to keep track of the text wherever you are, but you can also set up 10 bookmarks, or what we call Lisi points per document, not just one. Okay, so let me close this document down. Oh, I know it's a masterpiece, but it isn't particularly long enough for what I want to demonstrate. So I'm just going to close this down now.
Microsoft Word. Items view.
And here I am back in my folder. Now I have a full text document in Microsoft Word here.
Watership down for bookmarking.docs.
And I've called it Watership Down for bookmarking. It's the entire book of the children's book Watership Down. I'm going to open it up here.
Watership down for bookmarking.docs compatibility mode Word.
Okay, now obviously there's quite a lot to this document, and it will serve as a very good purpose for some of the things that I want to show you. So the first thing I'm going to do is move down a few pages.
Page 2, page 3, page 5, page 7.
Okay,
at the top of the bank.
That will do fine, I think. So we have a special keystroke in order to move page by page, forward and back. And why have we done that? Well, simply that if you try using the Word Find facility, and then you try the conventional Microsoft Word keystroke to move page by page, control page down, it will often tell you that it can't do it. You try it sometime and you'll find that it can't do it. So we have to have keystrokes to remedy that little deficit. So we have keystrokes to move by page. So here I am on page 7. And I'm going to set a Lisi point here, a bookmark effectively. Okay, so let's just remind ourselves of the line of text that we're on.
At the top of the bank, close to the wild cherry where the blackbird sang.
So at the top of the bank is what we're really listening for. So I'm going to set a bookmark here. All right. Okay, now I'm going to move elsewhere in the document. Just arrowing down a bit here. Let's just see if we can recall it, shall we?
At the top of the bank, close to...
There it is. Okay, so I was able to do that. Now let's try and we'll try and confuse it, if you like.
Page 6, to be seen, T.
Okay, I'm going to add some
Tango.
extra text here. Just going to type this is a test.
This is a test.
So I've added an extra line here before where the bookmark was scheduled to be. Now let's see what Lisi makes of that, shall we?
To be seen, empty and quiet. At the top of the bank, close to the wild cherry where the blackbird sang.
Okay, it put the cursor pretty much close to where we wanted to be, which is really, really good news. Now, there are some other features that I can show you in here, which I think would be really good. And one of these is the Find facility. So rather than using the Microsoft Word facility for finding text, we can actually use the Lisi functionality instead. Okay, so I'm going to do that now.
Forward finds dialog.
In fact, what we'll do is we'll go to the top of the document here.
Page 1.
And we'll initiate the find.
Forward finds dialog. Forward find edit. Girls.
Okay, now I want to search for the word girls. And you'll notice that Lisi actually announced the word girls there because I had done this in rehearsal. Okay, so she remembered the last word that I was looking for. But obviously, if you hadn't typed anything in here, then you could type the word that you want to search for, or indeed a phrase. Okay, so girls is what I'm looking for. I'm going to press enter.
2 little girls. Some of these were stories that everybody knows, such as Cinderella and edit.
Okay, and it has taken me to the first instance of the word girls. Now, compared to the Microsoft Word Find facility, that is much more straightforward, particularly if you're using Braille. I have to say, on a product like the L Braille, if you want to find something quickly, then that is particularly helpful. Now then, if I want to move forward, I don't need to move my cursor if I want to find the next instance. I can just press a keystroke to move to the next instance.
I used to write in the evenings after supper, and I read to the girls each bit as I finished.
Okay, perfect. That is the next instance. And if we do that again.
Go home with the girls in the morning.
And that's the next instance of it. And we'll do it again.
Not found.
Okay, and it's saying not found. So there are 3 instances of the word girls in these hundreds of pages of document that I've got here. Now, what if I want to do that in the reverse direction? Can I do that? Of course I can.
Go home with the girls in the morning.
And again.
I used to write in the evenings after supper, and I read to the girls each bit as I finished.
And again.
2 little girls. Some of these were stories that everybody knows, such as Cinderella and...
Okay, so that is absolutely fine. Those are all the instances we were able to retrace our steps. What else can I tell you from a word processing perspective? Have you ever had one of those documents where you are reading, maybe it's an instruction manual. It's giving you instructions as to what to do. You're reading it and they say, if you want to know more about this feature, then go to page 25 or whatever it is. So there you are, you're going over to page 25 and you read more details. Now, how on earth do you get back to where you really were reading in the first place before it directed you to that new section? Well, fortunately in Lisi, we've got a feature for that. Okay, so I'm going to go to page 7 of this document.
Find and replace. Enter page number.
Okay, so I'm going to page 7.
Watership down page 7. Could be seen, empty and quiet. The Warren was at peak.
Okay, so there, actually, let's just backtrack a little bit. Let's go to the top of the document so that you get a better idea.
Went up
here.
2 little girls.
So there's page 1, and then I'm going to go to page 7.
Find and replace 7.
Okay,
Watership.
and here I am on page 7.
Page 7.
Now you have a much clearer idea of it. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is press a keystroke, and what it should do is take us back to where we were in the first place.
Dollar to be seen, empty. Page 1, 2 little girls. Some of these were stories that...
And it has done exactly that. Okay, so that was absolutely great, that is. And we had one of our beta testers actually ask for that feature. And it is a very useful one. It's one of those ones that I had forgotten about, but it is incredibly useful. I can see why he wanted that. You probably have also come across a situation, and this happens a great deal due to security reasons, that you open up a document like a PowerPoint presentation, an Excel spreadsheet, or indeed, as we've got here, a Microsoft Word document, and it says that it is in a protected form. And you need to unprotect the document in order that you can obviously add notes to it or provide it in a better format so JAWS is able to read it. And you need to find that unprotect button. Well, with Lisi, we have a way of doing that right away. You just press the keystroke and it will unprotect the document or the PowerPoint presentation, whatever it is. Now, how many words are in this document?
163963 words.
Perfect. Do we have any other information about it?
Lisi points. The document contains 163963 words, 4,387 lines, 891207 characters.
Okay, probably in the words of quite modern parlance, TMI, too much information. But you get the idea. You can actually get a lot of information there. And that applies not only to Word documents, but it applies to websites, text files, that sort of thing. It's called our information key. And it gives you lots of information about where you are, should you ever want to know. Now, all of the Lisi keystrokes, where possible, ensure that you do not need to move your hands too far away from the home row of keys, which kind of leads me to my next point, really. What hopefully will be obvious to you is that if you get a new laptop computer or you get a keyboard which is unfamiliar to you, you could have problems locating some keys on the keyboard. So Lisi has some functions built into it which emulate features already present in JAWS, but they are much easier to get at. Now, I only do this when developing Lisi. I only double up on keystrokes if I think it adds real value to the product. I don't do it for every single keystroke. So many of our Lisi functions are preceded by pressing the grave accent key, and that is situated to the immediate left of figure 1 on the main QWERTY keyboard, just above the letter keys. We actually call this the Lisi key. So if I press the Lisi key followed by up arrow, that should speak the date.
May 20th, 2021.
Okay, and it has. Now, ordinarily, you would have had to have pressed insert or caps lock with F12. And for new users, particularly if it's a laptop that's unfamiliar, actually finding that function key F12 key can be a tall order. So that's one way of not only giving you the function that you want, but also making sure that your hands stay within close proximity to the home row. So we've got that one. Lisi key, in other words, grave accent followed by down arrow reports the time.
16:43.
The left arrow inserts the time into your document. And the right arrow with the Lisi key inserts the date. So some nice keystrokes there. For all of Lisi's features, they can either be accessed by convenient shortcut keys like that, or through various menus. So if you're not comfortable with shortcut keys, then you can certainly use one of the menus instead. And one of these menus relates to time functions. So let's go in there and have a look.
Lisi clock menu dialog. List 1 list view. Here are the current time, 1 of 14.
Okay, so we've got all kinds of options here relating to things that you can do with time. So you can hear the current time.
Insert the time into a document, 2 of 14. Custom sound for the stopwatch, 3 of 14. Start the stopwatch.
So we've got a full stopwatch in here. We have got the ability to be able to set a countdown timer if we want to. It has an hourly or quarter hourly chime if you want to use that. And a lot of people do use that. So all kinds of functions relating to time. So if I were to use one of these menu options here.
Custom sound for the stopwatch. Insert the time into it. Start the stopwatch.
There's start the stopwatch. So if I couldn't remember the keystroke, I can come into the time menu and I can do it this way.
Edit. Begin counting.
And the stopwatch is now counting. So let's see.
Stopped. 5.4 seconds.
Okay, so we can start it and stop it.
Stopped. Continuing.
Okay, we've just allowed it to continue.
9.6 seconds.
That's the current time.
12.4 seconds.
I'll just stop it there. I'm just pressing a keystroke to get that information because I happen to know it, but you could go through the menus.
Stopped. 20.7 seconds.
Now, if you want finer adjustments, you can get it to report more decimal places than just one, as I think I've got it there, if you wanted to do that. So very comprehensive stopwatch and timer functions we have. Now, I did say that I was going to demonstrate something called Lisi clips. Now, before I do that, I do want to continue reading my Watership Down book at some stage. So what I'm going to do is just bookmark this window to come back to later.
Set window 1.
Okay, so I've done that now, and just put that to the back of your mind for a moment, because we're going to return to that later on. So let's have a look at Lisi clips. Now, the idea behind this is that you can copy any Lisi any text segment that you like from one application to another. You can store it temporarily, and then you can paste it in any order that you like. Now, I noticed that Windows 10 does have a very similar feature, but to my mind, that's a very convoluted version of what I'm about to show you. If, as I do, you want to copy text segments many times per day, then believe me when I say that this method that I'm going to show you is far easier. Okay, so I have a table in Microsoft Word that I'm going to open in a moment, and it contains details of songs. They are listed as the artist first, and then the song title. But I want to paste it into the document the other way around. I want the title first and then the artist. Well, I can do this we're using Lisi clips because we can copy up to 12 segments of text at any one time, and we can paste them into any order that we want. So let me just find the document here.
Lisi, spelling dot, songs for Lisi clips dot doc.
Songs for Lisi clips, that's what we want.
Songs for Lisi clips dot doc, compatibility mode Word.
Okay, so let's find where the first one is.
Out of table, table 1, blank 1, Billy Joel, selected.
So that is the artist, it's Billy Joel. So remember, I want that second, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy that to Lisi clip 1. Okay, so let me do that now. All right.
Uptown Billy Joel.
So that is Lisi clip 1. And then
Uptown Girl.
Uptown Girl is the second item. So I'm going to copy that to Lisi clip 2. And now I'm going to go over to my WordPad document.
Watership D, Untitled Notepad.
In Notepad here, there it is. And I'm going to paste Lisi clip 2 first. And then I'm going to paste Lisi clip 1. Now I am obviously doing this very, very slowly. Okay, and so that you get the idea. But what have we got in this document now?
Uptown Girl Billy Joel.
Perfect. They're exactly the way that we want them. Now, obviously, I'm copying this from a Word document, but you could copy text from a web page. Maybe you are writing an email to somebody and you've got various descriptions on a web page about the holiday places you would like to go to, or food you would like to eat, things like that. You can use your own imagination in terms of this feature, but you can copy all the text segments that you want, and then you can paste them in any order in that email message. Let's just do one more. I'll Alt-Tab back over to my Word document.
Songsforlisiclips.doc.
And we'll tab again.
2. Selected. Tony Braxton. Selected.
So there's the artist. I'm going to copy that as Lisi clip 1. And I'm going to tab again.
Unbreak My Heart. Select.
And there's the second item. I'll do that as number 2. I'll go back to the Notepad document.
Star Untitled Notepad.
I'm going to paste Lisi clip 2 first. And then number 1. Okay, now you'll notice that you're hearing sounds here. And that's because I've got the Lisi special sound scheme enabled. You can turn it off and it will give you more verbose information, but you'll notice that the Lisi clip 1 sound had a slightly lower tone to the Lisi clip 2 sound. Okay, and that is deliberate. They actually move up the musical scale. So the higher the chord or the notes, then the more, the greater the Lisi clip. Okay, so where are we?
Title is Star Untitled Notepad.
Okay, so have we got this correct?
Unbreak My Heart, Tony Braxton.
Yes, we have. So they really do work very well indeed, although I say it myself. Okay, so let's just close this document down. I think we're finished with it.
Songs for Lisi, Star Untitled Notepad.
Okay, so all I've got open now, apart from Zoom and 1 or 2 other applications, I've got my little notepad file open here, but we've also, or we should have, our Watership Down book. So I bookmarked that earlier on. Let's see if we can get back to it, shall we?
Leaving table, Lisi points, Watership Down for bookmarking. Docs compatibility mode Word.
I just pressed a keystroke to get back to it. And that is a new feature in Lisi. You can actually bookmark up to 5 windows of your choosing. So if you regularly have a lot of windows open, you might have your email open, you might have a Twitter client like TW Blue, something like that, and you might have a web page open. Then you can bookmark each of those windows so that you can then just press various keys, 1 to 5, to get back to any one of those. And it really is a productivity boost. I can tell you that. I use that one quite a lot. Now, let's move on to some other things. I thought we would have a look at Lisi Cuts because I did mention that earlier on. Okay, so the idea behind this, as I briefly alluded to, is that you can store in a convenient list any frequently used web pages, or you can store folders, or even links to files if you want to, so that if you want to recall them later, you can certainly do that. Now, this is particularly important these days in relation to web pages, because using browsers such as Internet Explorer, we were able to easily create what they called favorites, and we could organize them easily because they were standard Windows shortcuts. Well, we don't seem to be able to do that now with the same degree of ease that we had before. So this is where Lisi cuts come into play, because you can store an infinite number of either web pages or folders. They are in separate lists. Okay, so you can easily find what it is that you're looking for. And then you can go back and get straight into those. So let me demonstrate how this works.
Star Untitled D. Lisi.
Okay, so I have a folder here, and appropriately enough, I called it Lisi, and it's got a number of our Microsoft Word documents in here that we've been playing with. Okay, so I'm going to create a Lisi cut pointing to this folder, so that whenever I want to get back to it in the future, I can easily do that. Okay, have we got any Lisi cuts in here at the moment?
There are no Lisi cuts available.
No, we don't. Okay, because this is my test system. Okay, so that's fine. So I'm going to find the folder that I want to create the Lisi cut for.
D. Lisi.
Okay, I have found it, and I used File Explorer in order to get there. Now I'm going to press a keystroke.
Store Lisi cut dialog. Please type the name you would like to use to launch this item in the future edit.
Okay, and this is typical of what happens with any environment that you go into with Lisi. It's going to give you some brief instructions as to what to do. We don't expect you to remember everything. So if there's something specific you need to type into an edit box to make Lisi work in a particular way, we're going to try and give you a very concise a set of instructions so that you know what to do. Okay, and it's asking me to type in what name do I want to give this? It doesn't have to be the folder name if you don't want it to be. Remember that what we're going to be accessing at the end of this process is a list of all our frequently used files, folders, or web pages. So it's something that is memorable to you. Okay, well, I'm just going to call it Lisi here because that's a nice short name anyway. And I'm going to press enter.
D. Path to folder for Lisi cut dialog. Please review or change the path to the folder for the Lisi cut, then press enter edit.
Now what it's doing is Lisi is being a little bit careful here. She is saying, well, this is where I think the location of the folder is, but I might be wrong. Lisi's never wrong, but she doubts herself. So she thinks I might be wrong about this. So please check it. And let's just make sure that I have got it right. And if it's correct, then press enter. Okay, so let's just check that she has got it right.
D. Lisi.
Yes, what it's saying there is D:/Lisi, and that is correct. It's a standard edit field. If she's got it wrong, then you can change it right here. Okay, so I'm going to press enter on this.
D. Lisi cut Lisi saved.
Okay, and it's saying that she saved the Lisi cut. So we're not going to cheat.
Title is D.
I'm going to come out of File Explorer.
Upper ribbon.
Okay.
Leaving menus. Leaving ribbons.
Okay, here I am, I think, in my Watership Down book. All right. So I am going to go into my list of Lisi cuts here.
List of Lisi cuts dialog. List 1 list view. Lisi. Folder 1 of 1.
It's doing a number of things here. She is telling us that we've got one Lisi cut, which is fine. If we had hundreds, and believe me, I do know that people store hundreds upon hundreds of Lisi cuts, thousands even, because the great thing about this tool is that they are all arranged in alphabetical order. And if there's something specific that you're looking for, you can either arrow down, but a lot of people use first letter navigation to get to where they want to be. So when they have found what it is that they're looking for, they just press enter on this.
Watership Down for bookmarking. Docs compatibility mode. Edit. Edit. D. Lisi. Items view multi-select list box. $tership.
Okay, and here we are in the Lisi folder. So that is absolutely fine. All right, so we've got that all sorted out. So Lisi cuts is a very nice feature to be able to work with. Okay, so we are coming up to the top of the hour now at this point. Obviously, we're probably about just over halfway through. So I just want to pause, not necessarily to take questions unless people want to, but I'll just go back to Jason for a moment, just to make sure, because there's plenty of other things in Lisi I would love to show you. I just want to make sure that everything is coming over okay and that everybody is satisfied with the way that I'm delivering the presentation at the moment. So if we could just pause to find that out, that'll be wonderful.
Yes, everything is coming over just great. You're doing an excellent job. I believe everybody should be able to hear you loud and clear. I believe everybody's enjoying your presentation. I did want to mention, and I apologize for not mentioning this in the beginning, two things. First of all, we have joining me hosting and monitoring our board today. We have Manis Pasias, who is monitoring our call count, and when we get time to questions and answers, we will be using the hand raising method here on Zoom as well. And also, I wanted to also mention that Brian has agreed and has graciously donated a door prize that we will be giving at the end of our presentation, which is a copy of Lisi Advanced to one lucky winner. However, that person must be present to win, and we will be giving that out at the end of our presentation. So Brian, if you'd like to, do you want to take questions or would you like to continue?
No, we'll continue for a little while, if you don't
Okay.
mind.
Certainly.
Okay. All right, because as I say, there are more features in Lisi I would like to show. I could do this all evening, but let's do a few more, shall we, that I thought might be useful. One of the most popular features that we have in Lisi, undoubtedly, is something called Lisi Search. And this is, it was originally intended to be a repository for searching various libraries for books. Because my wife and I are great readers, and we wanted the people to have the ability to be able to say to Lisi, well, this is a book I would like to read. Can you detail the libraries that it's in? Well, it didn't quite turn out that way. We do have lots of library resources in here, but it's kind of taken on a life of its own, as people have wanted more and more things. So what I'd like to do in this little section is to give you an overview of what Lisi Search does and show you some of the features in here, and then I will demonstrate one or two of them. So let's first of all give you a nice overview of some of the tools that you can use in order to search for information. Okay, so I'm going to go into Lisi Search here.
Lisi Search dialog. List 1 list view. Google. 1 of 31.
Okay, as you can tell, we've got quite a lot of options. So the first one is Google. And you might think, well, why on earth would anybody want to be able to search quickly on Google? Well, simply this, that what you can do is press enter on this and you can type in what it is you want to search for. But the problem is with a website like Google is that often what it will do is it will place focus where you don't want to be. So it could be in the sponsored advertisements. It could be somewhere completely unrelated. Well, really what you want to get to is the first result on that page. And so Lisi will examine what you've got, and she will try and set focus to where you want to be on that page. It's just one of the JAWS features that we have here. Let's move on to some others.
News. 2 of 31.
News. Now, when you go into news, what it does is it gives you a whole variety of news sources that you can search through. I think I've come up with 80 sources at the moment that I'm able to tap into and bring to you. So you get a list of these news sources, you arrow down to the one you want. Of course, they are international. Let's bear in mind just for a moment, everybody, that the vast majority of our customer base for all of our products are American people. Okay, so by definition, a lot of the news sources and a lot of the services are American. But what I try to do is to give Lisi a global feel. So if I'm providing a service for American citizens, like some of the libraries that we're going to get to, I do try to provide equivalent for some other countries as well. Okay, so that people get good value for money. All right, so when you go into the news sources, you choose the one that you want that's listed. And I've tried to format the page, the results page, in a nice, easy way so that each new headline is a hyperlink, and you get the individual news headline, and then you get a little summary below that. And if you press enter on the appropriate link, then it will take you to that news story. Let me just demonstrate one of these. I'll press enter on news.
Edit. Lisi News Dialog. List 1 list view. ABC News. 1 of 81.
All right. So let's see if we can find something here that might be useful.
CBC News. CBS. CNN. 7.
There's CNN. I'll press enter and we'll see if it does it.
Edit. Please wait. Ready. Lisi News. Lisi News.
So what we have here is a virtual environment, a bit like browsing a web page or a Word document, anything of that nature. And we can just arrow down here.
Link Sanders will introduce resolution disapproving $735 million U.S. arms sale to Israel.
So that's the link for the headline. So if I were to press enter on this, then it will take me to the web page where I can either read the news story or indeed watch the video if there is one.
Independent Senator Bernie Sanders will introduce a resolution on Thursday disapproving of the U.S. sale of $735 million in precision-guided weapons to Israel.
So that's a little summary of what you would get if you were to press enter on that link.
According to a draft obtained by CNN, blank.
There's a blank line as a separator.
Linked John Katko searches for a sweet spot in turbulent Republican times.
And there you've got another headline. So you can just keep going through that if you want to. But obviously, that is the very latest news as of this moment. So that's news. Let's go back to Lisi Search.
Unbreak my.
Let's see.
Lisi Search dialog. News.
There it is. So if you've got news.
RSS.
You might want RSS. A lot of people like to browse different blogs. That's in the form of RSS feeds. That was something that we were definitely asked for. So you can put in an RSS feed into that if you want to, and that is permanently stored until you want to delete it, of course. So you can easily get back to it to track the various blogs that you're interested in.
Podcast search.
We've got podcast search. This is a relatively new innovation. We introduced this one last year. And the idea behind this, of course, is that you can search for podcasts. Now, we're using the Apple directory for this. So if the podcast that you love is in the iTunes store, in the Apple podcast directory, then Lisi is going to be able to grab hold of it. So you can search for the podcasts that you're interested in, and it will come back with a list of results. And you can do a number of things with that. You can add it to your favorites list if that's what you want to do. And once you've done that, then when you're interested in looking at what's new, you can go into that and you can read not only the show notes for a particular podcast, but also you can obviously read the episode details. If you were to press enter on one of those links, what it will do is it will either play the podcast for you, or it will allow you to download it to your computer. And for some of us, me included, that is something that we do want to do. We don't always want to listen to it in the web browser or something like that, or on a specialist client. We actually want to listen to the podcast episode in our favorite media player. So that's a useful feature.
Weather.
So we had the news, we've got to have the weather. And this is one of my favorite applications, I must say. This is a fully featured weather application. So what it will do is it will allow you to enter a place name or a postal or zip code, and it will bring back information relative to it. You are able to do things like view the forecast, the upcoming forecast. You can read an hour by hour forecast as well. So you can see what the weather was like earlier today or what it's going to be like later. You can get a forecast for the coming week. You can also get things like sunrise and sunset times, moonrise and moonset. And it is very, very configurable. So we provide you with a set of options, for example, Celsius and Fahrenheit temperatures. But if you don't want that, if you just want one or the other, or kilometers per hour for the wind speed as against miles per hour, you can really get down and configure this to the way that you want it to be, so that you just get the output that you like. Okay, so that's weather.
Convert currency.
We have a currency converter. And it's a lovely currency converter because you don't need to remember anything. You can shortcut it if you know the abbreviations for currencies. You can do it if you want to, but you don't have to, because it just asks you for the figure, first of all, how much you want to convert. And then, if necessary, it will present you with two list boxes. One that you can convert from, and you select the appropriate currency, and one that you convert to. I have to say that the vast majority of these features in Leasy Search are not based on web page technology, because we all know that web pages can change. So what we're using for quite a number of these is something called an application program interface, or API. And that has the advantage that it doesn't often stop working. They have very, very good uptimes, these APIs, especially if you pay commercial rates for them, which we obviously do because we're a business. So we're going to get fairly reliable access here to a lot of these services. So where did we get to? That was currency converter.
Amazon.
And you can search on various platforms for different items, such as Amazon,
iTunes,
Last.fm,
Last.fm,
which is kind of a music database. We've got a few of these.
TV Maze.
TV Maze is an interesting one, because if you're interested in old TV shows, if you're a bit of a historian, or even if you're not, you want to research information about current shows, then it will tell you things like how many episodes of something were transmitted, the synopsis of different episodes, how long they were, when they ran from and to, that sort of thing.
Netflix.
Now we've got Netflix, and this will allow you to search for various movies, of course, on Netflix, and TV shows. And what I like about some of these options that I'm going to tell you about is that when you go into a Netflix movie, or you go to a YouTube video, or even if you start watching a movie on Disney Plus, which is possible. We've got Disney Plus here somewhere.
Netflix audio description, Disney Plus.
There's Disney Plus. Okay, so if you want to search for a movie and you go into that, if you've got a Disney Plus subscription, you can start watching it. You can do things like pause the video. You can skip forward and skip back. You can adjust the volume and things like that on all these platforms. And the same is true of Spotify. We were talking earlier about global Accessibility Awareness Day? Well, part of LISI is about making applications accessible. I've been focusing on productivity tools really quite a lot today, but we do have the ability in LISI to make various applications accessible. So I know I'm going down a side route here, but VLC Media Player is definitely one of those. And Spotify is another. The point that I'm getting to is that the keystrokes for doing things like varying the volume, moving through the individual items, playing and pausing them, they're all the same. So once you know them for one application, then you should know them for whichever environment that you're in, which is really quite a help, don't you think? Okay, so we've got Disney Plus there, we've got Netflix.
Ultimate Music Data.
There's a couple of music databases.
eBay.
We've got eBay.
Wikipedia. Oxford Dictionaries.
Which is to get the meanings of words.
YouTube.
There's YouTube. I think I mentioned that earlier.
Just Watch.
I think that's another TV database.
Track Package.
Oh, that's a very new one. That's Track Package. So if you have an Amazon delivery, or you've bought something from eBay, or you've just got a regular parcel that you want to track, you can put in the parcel reference number or the Amazon order number, and it's going to tell you the status of the delivery there.
Goodreads.
We've got Goodreads as well for people. We're coming on to the book ones now. Okay, so you've got things like Goodreads.
RNIB Home Reading Service.
That's one of ours in the UK.
Bookshare.
We've got Bookshare.
Audible. Canadian Solo Library. NLS Audio.
Oh, so you can search the NLS audio and braille catalogs as well. So you can definitely do that. We had great cooperation from NLS to get that working. Now, just to make this absolutely clear, that you cannot play books on your computer using LISI through NLS. Much as we would love to be able to and offer that facility, that is not going to happen anytime soon. What this does is it just allows you to search for individual book titles. Okay, so, but it does do a nice job even so. And once you have found the title that you're interested in and you have read the description for it, it's a nice little interface for working with that, then you can activate the link for the book and you are able to borrow it at that stage, but you have to log in to NLS to do that. Okay, but it's a good interface for finding what you want, which is why it's here. So that's a good overview, I think, of LISI search. Nice tools in there, enabling you to get what you want to be able to do, I hope. So let me come out of there. Now, let me see. Okay, I want to demonstrate at least one more LISI feature. I think I've got one more noted down here. Yes, I have. Okay, so we'll do one more and then we'll take any questions on LISI, and then I'll end up by going through a few other services that we offer. Okay, so I did mention this earlier on, and this is for the Braille readers among you. And one of the things that I've been very concerned about, particularly now that the L Braille is available, is how a person is going to use it, because if you can imagine, you've got 6 dots, well, 8 dots effectively, and a space bar. How are people going to be able to use Windows, control the whole of Windows with just that Braille entry keyboard? And Vispero have done a good job. There is somebody unmuted there. I would be very grateful, please, if one of the organizers could take care of that little issue. That'd be great. Thank you very much. So Vispero have done a really good job in terms of making sure that you can do this to control the Windows functionality with the Braille entry keyboard. But the difficulty is that it is quite an adjustment to make. It is not easy to be able to do it. Okay, I'm going to have to deal with that if somebody cannot. I will give it half a minute, but otherwise I will attend to it myself. But there is somebody there who appears to be unmuted. Okay, so as I said, we can actually get around this in LISI by using a mode that we call Elegance for Braille. And essentially what this does is it allows you to type into the device exactly what you would like to happen. Okay, so you can press a key on the keyboard, and if you want to go to the Windows desktop, you're going to type Windows space D and then press enter. So if you know the Windows shortcut key for whatever it is that you want to be able to use or to emulate, then you can do it. It's easy enough. So let me show you this, how this works. So I'm going to assume that my computer is an L Braille, and I'm going to type the of sign, which if you're a Brailleist, you'll know what that is, of sign with space. And you may have heard there a little click sound. So I'm going to type now Windows space D and press enter.
Folder view list view, zoom.
Okay, and I am immediately on the Windows desktop. So that is essentially how it works. If you wanted to emulate the keystroke, let's say, for example, Control-Shift-T for Tango, you would type Control space Shift space T and then press enter. So you don't need to know anything special. I'm not saying for 1 second that these commands that are built into JAWS to control the focus are unsuitable. What I'm saying is that they're difficult to learn. And when you buy a device as expensive as something like the L Braille, you're paying thousands of dollars for this. And you have the right, I think, to be able to use it in just a few minutes without too much effort on your part. And this is what the Elegance for L Braille feature allows you to do. So if you know the Windows shortcut for it, if you know the screen reading command for it, then you can emulate it. Now, as you become used to this, you can actually abbreviate that a little bit. So if you wanted to go to the Windows desktop, I'll keep using that as an example because it's one that everybody might know. You don't have to type Windows space D. What you can actually do is type W space D. Or if you want Alt Tab, you type A space Tab, A representing Alt, W representing Windows. So all of the primary modifier keys do in fact have abbreviations. There is one other thing that this feature is good at, and that is being able to create your own abbreviations. So let's say, for example, that you regularly want to go to the desktop. Yes, I mean, you can type W space D, that might be pretty good, but you might want to use your own abbreviation. You might want to just type desk. So whenever you type the word desk into this little feature, don't forget you need to precede it by pressing of sign chord. So you type of sign and then desk, it's going to go to the desktop. Now, that might not seem too fantastic on the face of it, but let's think about these two scenarios. So first of all, you're in a Twitter client such as TW Blue, which is it's a lovely Twitter client and it's free to use. Problem is, if you want to control it with the Braille entry keyboard, it starts to become a little bit awkward, a little bit difficult. So you can create some abbreviations to move from one area to another. This program has something called buffers, which are essentially lists of your different tweets, depending upon where you want to go to. And the keystroke for moving to and from these different buffers is actually Alt, Windows, right arrow. Well, if you think about doing that ordinarily on the Focus, let me tell you that it's actually quite difficult. So you could set up an abbreviation so that whenever you type RT, for example, it would automatically move to the next buffer, or LT for the previous one. You can define your own abbreviations. We don't mind what you do with it, as long as it's helpful. And the other thing that allows you to do is to launch particular files and documents as well. Even Windows programs come to that. So if there's a program or a file that you regularly want to use, you can just set up an abbreviation for that. And whenever you type that abbreviation, it's going to go right in there. So again, that is very useful. So as I say, that is a relatively new feature again in LISI, elegance for L Braille, we call it. The fact that it's new kind of brings me to where I want to finish the LISI part of the presentation, because we're always introducing new features. This was a fairly big update that we did this year. I think it was the first one of the year. We put things like the package tracking in there. We put the elegance for L Braille in there, support for Disney Plus, and a whole raft of other things. We've got another update coming out next month, and we'll doubtless have several more throughout the year. And I would say that most of the features are requests that we actually get from the LISI community. So the people who are actually using it, which is really how it should be. Yes, we can think of things ourselves, but it is nice to get suggestions. We get a lot of suggestions, and we can't do everything. We can't put them all in, but a lot of them do come through. It might not be right away. It might take several months, because a lot of these things require considerable testing and documenting and things like that. There's a lot of stages that a feature has to go through. But don't think, if you suggest something, that we just throw it away, because you'll doubtless see it. Now, LISI is, certainly the LISI advanced version is 62, 62 American dollars. That's what it is. And that gives you typically a year's worth of access to the features. So however many upgrades we do within the course of that year, you will get those. And the LISI Basic for complete computer beginners, if you want to have that functionality on top of the LISI Advanced, then you would buy LISI Total Package, as we call it. And that is about $75, something of that order. So it's not a huge difference between the two products, really. Best thing to do is to go to our website, which is hargenconsultancy.com. That is HARTGEN consultancy.com. There is a link on there which is called LISI Central. In fact, I think it's on every single page of the website. If you go to that, then you can read chapter and verse on LISI. And don't forget to check out those LISI Bites, the audio tutorials as well, because they are quite helpful. There is a demonstration copy of LISI, which you can also download to make sure that you're fully satisfied with it before you go ahead and purchase it. And the other thing that I would say is that we do offer, of course, documentation, as I say, to go with it, but also technical support. So if you run into a particular problem with it, if you've not installed it correctly, or anything of that nature, then all you need to do is ask. Now, we have recently taken on somebody who lives in Canada. She's actually American by birth, but she lives in Canada. And she is our technical consultant, and she works for us, as I say, on a part-time basis. And she will be able to, if necessary, remote onto your computer if I can't, and sometimes I will do it, and be able to resolve any problems that you might have, because they do happen from time to time. Technology is not perfect, of course. So we do have that facility available. And the fact that we have taken on some consultancy work of that nature just, I hope, goes to prove that we are thinking of users and trying to get the problems resolved, if there are any, within a timely manner. All right, so that is all about Lisi. Let's have a few questions if there are any, and then I'll just wrap it up in a few minutes by going through just some of the other products that we sell very quickly so that you can get an idea as to what we have.
Okay, thank you very much, Brian. I'll quickly go over how we're going to use the raise hand feature here on Zoom. For those that are not familiar, if you're on a Windows PC, the keyboard command is Alt-Y, and that will signal to our host Manus that you would like to speak. He will call on you and you will unmute with Alt-A. If you are on an iPhone or iPad, you go to the bottom right under More, you will find the raise hand command if you swipe right with voiceover users. And on the main screen is the unmute button that you will find on the main screen. And if you're on a telephone, you would do *9 if you're calling in on a telephone. And that would be *9. And when you are called, you can do *6 to unmute. So, and I do apologize, I am not familiar with the Mac commands. So if anybody is a Mac user, I'm hoping that you know the proper command. I apologize for that. So with that being said, I do want to say really quick before we do get to any raised hands that I am a Lisi Advanced user, and I have found this presentation extremely valuable because there are a ton of features that I either forgot about myself or were not even aware about. So I have found this information to be extremely valuable, and I thank you so much, Brian, for going all that in great detail. So with that being said, do we have any raised hands?
Yes, we do. We have Penny Moss.
Okay, Penny, if you'd like to unmute.
Her.
Yes, I just had a couple of questions. And also I was going to tell you that the command for using the Mac is for raising your hand is Option Y, and for muting is Control-Shift-A.
Oh, thank you very much for clarifying that.
My question is on the basic Lisi, where you were talking about if you wanted to do certain things, like if you want to write a letter or open a document, does that automatically open into Microsoft Word?
Great question. No, there are two word processors that we support for that particular feature. One of them is Microsoft Word, but we also decided that what we would do is try and have another one that a lot of people had that had similar functionality. And the one we went with was something called HJPad, which is already built into JAWS because we could guarantee that everybody would have it. So those are the two, and there is in the setup process the ability to be able to configure which one it is that you use. But once you get into one of those word processors, the menus should be fairly similar to each other. So you have things like you can open a document, you can create a new document, and adjust the point size and style of the text and things like that.
So you can set it to go automatically into Microsoft Word if you are telling it you want to open a document or write a letter, right?
Yes, indeed.
Okay.
All right. Is that your only question?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. All right, Manus, do we have any more raised hands at this time?
No.
No, none at this time.
No, not this
Okay.
time.
All right. Brian, if you'd like to continue.
Yes, I'll continue for about another 10 or 15 minutes.
Sounds good.
Okay, let me summarize some of the other things that we do. So we, as I say, offer a range of other different script files that have been created for different applications. So one of those would be Zoom. So when you install JAWS, you actually do get a set of scripts for the Zoom conferencing client already in the product itself. And I actually wrote those anyway. And they give you a basic level of functionality, but the scripts that we sell give you a lot more functionality. So, for example, there are lots of added shortcut keys. The great thing about the professional Zoom scripts, as we call them, is that when you're in areas such as the participants list or the chat area, that kind of thing at the moment with JAWS, unless you have these professional scripts, there's a lot of what I always call verbal clutter. So you arrow through it, and as people leave the room or they enter the room, that list refreshes and JAWS starts over talking. Okay, so you won't get any of that with the professional scripts that you can purchase. What else do we have in there? We have a very useful feature, actually, particularly helpful when you are hosting meetings. So what it does is it actually abbreviates a lot of the information that is in things like the participants list. So you'll know that when you arrow up and down, it says the name of the user, and it might say things like no video connected or no audio connected, that kind of thing. We decided that what we would do is to abbreviate some of that. So you arrow down and it might say, Jason, no camera, because that's all you need to know, really. Some of those other words are superfluous. You don't need them. Now, of course, you can go back to the default speaking of the output and everything, no matter what the product is that is developed by Hargen Consultancy. You can control absolutely everything. So if you really want to hear it in full, you certainly can. But for a lot of people who really want to host conferences and to be efficient about this, then you can abbreviate some of this information. So that's another thing that they do. So there's a lot more as well. The Zoom scripts are, I think, $42 actually, and there are always quite a few updates to those, which are available via our automatic update facility, or not automatic update, but it's online update. You go to help and check for updates, so you're in control of it. It's not going to do it itself, so you decide when you want to apply the update. I do prefer that approach rather than technology just taking over. Okay, so those updates come out fairly regularly because Zoom, particularly since COVID-19, has changed a lot over the months. So I try to keep pace with those updates. We have a very comprehensive set of scripts for Microsoft Teams, which offer similar or even more functionality to the Zoom scripts. And that's our most recent release. So if you have a need to use Microsoft Teams, then you can do that. We have them for the station playlist set of products in terms of broadcasting. So if you want to host radio shows over the internet or even in a terrestrial radio setting, you can do that. But I guess the other thing that I really wanted to talk about was we have a range of online training courses. So these were training courses which have been developed using a conferencing facility similar to this one. I do host them over Zoom, and I've done this for the past 5 years or so. And people took part in these and they learned how to use particular applications alongside JAWS. But people actually wanted to purchase the archives afterwards, after these webinars took place. And in fact, arguably, we've had more sales of the archives than the training courses themselves when you could take part in the live events. So one of the reasons maybe for that is that sometimes we offer them at a slightly reduced rate. So these training courses usually are hosted, as I say, over Zoom. I try and do 2 or 3 a year if I possibly can, but there's a vast library of these that are that are built up over the years now. I think we've got about 26 courses covering all manner of subjects. A lot of people like using audio applications, so things like Reaper for audio production work, multi-track work. I'm just about to redo that one, actually, the Reaper training course, Studio Recorder, SoundForge, all kinds of audio applications we've got up there, training courses that you can buy. What else have we got? I usually do a training course every couple of years or so called Catching Up with JAWS, which allows you to catch up on the latest features of JAWS. So there are three volumes of that up there now, if people want to buy those. We've got them on other applications, for example, Microsoft Word, we've got Outlook, we've got various web browsers up there, such as Chrome and Edge. And what else we've got? There's one for the L Braille as well. If you've got an L Braille, there is actually a full training course on Zoom that we mentioned earlier. There's one on Microsoft Teams. That was the most recent one I've done. There's over 9 hours of audio there about Microsoft Teams. So all of these archives are available if you would like to purchase them. They kind of range in price, but they're usually around the $40, $50 range, depending upon the training course, the length of it, and the complexity, really. But all the prices are given there on the website on our training page. So again, if you go to hargenconsultancy.com, you go to our training area, everything is set out there, all the prices, the length of the courses, of the archives. So you can read all about them there. And also on that training page, I always detail what our upcoming training course is going to be in the course calendar. And as I say, the next one is about the Reaper audio production software, which is going to be quite an undertaking, as it was before. So feel free to check that out, and any of our other products. I'll just give you that website again. It is hargenconsultancy.com. That's HARTGEN consultancy.com. And I'm very happy to take any last minute questions. I'd like to thank Jason and his team for giving me the opportunity of being able to be with you today and presenting the information to you. I hope, as I say, that you found it useful. And we'd be very willing to exchange any emails with you, or indeed chat with you by telephone if that's what anyone would like to do. Again, thank you very much for giving me this wonderful opportunity.
Brian, thank you so much for your excellent presentation. I really appreciate it. I thank you so much for taking the time out of your evening over there in the UK, and for presenting to our group as well. With that being said, do we have any last minute questions for Brian regarding any of the products that were discussed today?
Yes, we do. We have Scott Edward.
Okay, Scott, if you'd like to unmute.
All right. Brian, you never said anything at all about JSay or JDictate. Are those no longer under development?
They certainly are. I wasn't sure about the need for this particular audience, actually, but certainly, yes, they are very much under development. So for people who want to know about this, and again, there's lots of information on the website. JDictate, both products actually work with Dragon Naturally Speaking, and essentially they link together JAWS and Dragon Naturally Speaking. We all know what JAWS is. Dragon allows you to dictate into or control the computer using the human voice. It's been around for a very long time. I've been working with it for 17 years, and it was around a long time before I started working with it. So our two products do two different things. JDictate is a product that allows you to make Dragon accessible insofar as when you dictate text into documents, it will echo back your dictation. And as a blind person, that is very important because you need to know that what Dragon has recognized has been successfully transcribed, and it might not be, in which case you need to educate it so that the next time you say the same thing, it's going to get it correct. And it also makes various aspects of the Dragon user interface accessible to screen reader users. Now, JSay, on the other hand, is an entirely different animal, because what that does is it allows you to have complete control over your computer from the point you turn it on to when you switch it off by voice alone. We don't stop you using the keyboard, of course we don't, but it does certainly allow you to have complete control over it. And that includes a lot of the features that I've actually been demonstrating to you today in the form of Lisi. But it also means every single JAWS screen reading command that you could possibly imagine is mirrored with a voice command. So if you wanted to hear the current line in your document, for example, you don't need to remember to press insert up arrow. You can just say to it, speak line. If you want to know what time it is, you don't press insert F12, you'd say, what time is it? So we call this natural language, and it is very responsive, quite responsive anyway. So you would say, for example, a particular command, and I would say on average about a quarter of a second later, it will report back what it is that you've asked for. So this is ideal for people who really cannot use the keyboard. The JDictate is for people, it's a productivity tool. It's for people who really cannot type particularly well. They want to get text into documents. They might be lawyers, or they might work in some kind of profession that needs a lot of text generating. But they're quite content to do any editing with the keyboard because they are keyboard able. JSay really is for people who cannot use the keyboard or who do not wish to use the keyboard. And that is why there is a marked difference in cost for that. But then again, there is an extreme marked difference in terms of the functionality that JSay offers. So in terms of giving you the kind of price points for this, so the JDictate product is around about $100 at the moment, and JSay is approximately $500 for that. Don't forget too that with JSay, most of the people, I would say, who get JSay do need a lot of support and a lot of patience to be able to work with different applications. And that is part of the reason for the increased cost as well. Now, Scott, I do appreciate that's given you a lot more than you asked for, but did you have any specific question about that, or was that it?
Oh, no, that was all.
That was all.
I just
Okay.
wanted to be sure people were aware of those things, if they were still out there.
Well, we really
I know it's
appreciate
really,
that.
It's more of a niche type audience, especially JSay, but I just wanted to be sure those were covered as well.
That's very kind of you. So yes, they are developed each and every year, and they are both working with all the latest updates, that is Windows 10, Office 365, JAWS 2021, and Dragon 15.6. So it's the latest of everything.
All right.
Well, thank you very
Sounds
much.
good.
Thank you very much, Scott. Thank you.
All right.
Manus, do we have any more raised hands?
No. No.
All right.
No more raised hands. Okay. All right. Well, with that being said, we will now move on to our drawing as we did promise.
Well,
And one,
Jason, before you
yes?
do that, can you make any final announcements, and then we can do the drawing, please?
Oh, sure. Yes. Brian, did you have any final announcements before
No,
we do?
I've done everything there.
Okay, all right, well, thank you. Yes, just a few quick announcements, really quick. I did want to let you know, we are the Florida Outreach Center for the Blind here in West Palm Beach. We are a full training facility here. We offer classes in assistive technology, Braille, independent living, mobility support, and crafts. And we do have other classes and opportunities as well. We also do have a children's program. We have activities throughout the year that handle the children. We also do have a mailing list, which I do invite every single one of you to please join. It is a free mailing list, and you will get several pieces of information. First of all, we will be posting this recording up on our website via a link. And also we will be putting up a full transcript of today's workshop as well, once that is ran. And we also forward information regarding future workshops and other information that we find valuable to the people that do subscribe to our mailing list. If you like to subscribe, you can send a blank email to Florida Outreach Center plus subscribe, the plus sign, subscribe at groups, groups.io. And just go ahead and send that in a blank message. And once you receive that, you'll receive an automated message back to make sure that is exactly what you wanted to subscribe to. You would just hit your reply button and send that email, and then you will be added to our mailing list. So, and I am the moderator of that mailing list. I forward information, post information, as well as others do as well. So I certainly invite you, to join the mailing list and gain all the information that we do share out there as well. It's not a high traffic mailing list, so you won't see tons of messages every day. Some days you may see one or two, other days you may not see anything, so don't worry, you won't get dumped with a lot of emails that you do see on a lot of high traffic lists. So I also wanted to thank the Florida Outreach Center for allowing us to put on this presentation. I also want to thank Brian once again for taking time out of his day and his evening over in the UK to speak to us as well and putting on this excellent presentation. So with that being said, I guess we will do our drawing now, and I will let Manus do the drawing here of our winner of our Lisi Advance that is donated by Hargen Consultancy.
My pleasure. And the final announcement, Jason, is next week we have our book club, our
Yes.
book discussion.
Mm-hmm. And yes, we do hold a, and I do, did you want to speak on that?
Oh, yes. The title of the book for next week is The Return. And I don't remember the author. I don't know if anybody can help me. But
yeah, I'm not for sure of it either. We do hold a monthly book club discussion here on Zoom as well. And that will take place, and that is open to anybody. These are books from the Talking Book Library. So you can get those from BARD or your local or statewide Talking Library. And that is held on the last Thursday of the month at 12:30 p.m. Eastern time. And it lasts about 45 minutes to maybe an hour. And that is actually here on Zoom as well. And we are using the same Zoom link that you use today. So you won't need a special separate link for that. If you'd like to join our discussion, we'd love to have you.
All righty, thank you. Thank you so much. And having said that, today our winner is John Gassman.
John Gassman, all right. John, are you there? Could you identify yourself? Could you unmute? John, are you there?
It doesn't matter. We know John anyway.
Oh, you
So,
do? Okay.
Yes,
oh, you do? Okay,
yes,
wonderful. So you
So
have all his
we'll
contact
be in touch
information.
with him to see what he would like. Yes.
Oh, okay, great. All right, great. Thank you very much. I certainly appreciate it. I did not know you had his information already, so that's great. Well, congratulations, John, for your for the winning of our drawing today. So, and Brian will be in contact with you. So in conclusion, I'd like to thank everybody once again. Thank you to Manus once again. And thank you to everybody for coming out and joining us today and participating. And we certainly hope to have you join us next month for our next upcoming workshop here at the Florida Outreach Center for the Blind. I certainly hope you all enjoy the rest of your day. And thank you once again. Take care.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you. All right. Thanks so much, Manus.